I'm the Undergraduate Chair in Psychology here at Queen's University, and I am thrilled to have Cathy Keates with me today, who is the Director of Career Services here at Queen's University. We're hearing from students that there's lots of questions about jobs. What does it mean for this summer? What does it mean for long term? And Cathy is here with me today, working from home, to help answer these questions in this time of COVID when there's a lot of uncertainty. So Cathy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Megan, for arranging this.
I'm going to get us started right away. The biggest question is, are there any jobs for students this summer?
So we'll start with the good news. Yes, there are jobs. That's good news. Of course, the reality is not that simple, and there are lots of things that have been disrupted as well. So many students, there are opportunities that they thought they would have that have now either look like they might not happen or for sure are already not happening. And we know that some of the sectors that have been really hard hit for things that have to have happened, you know, physically, with physical presence and people close together, a lot of tourism things, possibly things with children and summer camps are not happening or likely not happening. That said, there absolutely is still work happening, just like you and I are working remotely. There are other jobs that are working remotely and organizations that continue to need people to run things. So you can think about things generally in an office setting. So a lot of project work, communications work, some research that's not, you know, interacting or needing to be in a physical space or lab, for example. That kind of research can continue. The other thing is that there are some areas that are actually hiring and growing right now because of the increased demands because of the impact of the virus. Whether that's of interest to students, maybe not to some of the new graduates who are looking for career-related things, but certainly to students who need to make decisions so that they can bring in money over the summer. Things like cleaning, delivery work, grocery stores, many of those businesses that are still open and are serving all of us need lots of people to keep going. And then the last thing I'll say is that it's important to remember that often when we think about where are the jobs, people go, what's growing? Where are all the jobs going to be? And of course, growing areas have jobs, but all areas have jobs because of movement as well. And so even in an industry that isn't growing right now, if the work can be done remotely, there will still be people taking maternity leaves, some maybe people retiring, people getting new jobs. There will still be some movement, and there will be jobs that will open in those areas too.
How can students be proactive in this process? So what can they do to put themselves in the best position for when things do begin to return to normal, or maybe even for this fall?
Yeah, and I think even for right now, so absolutely for being proactive and being ready for the fall or for looking for things right now, I think that the key thing is that the way to find a job hasn't changed significantly. It's changed in that it's going to be fully remote for the most part, and so it's going to be figuring out how to do all of this through your email and your LinkedIn and your virtual presence. But the key parts of job search remain, and that is research and networking. And so we know that in any environment, employers will hire primarily when they can through their networks. And that's because for them, that's often the fastest way to do something. Often a hire needs to be made really quickly so they don't have too much of a gap in the service and delivery of the services or products of their organization. And so for students, the key things to think about in your job search is building as much information as you can about the kind of work you want to do, whether that's a short-term thing or your longer-term career goals, and then becoming part of the professional community within that area. And so that's networking, and there's all kinds of different ways to do networking. And unfortunately, there are lots of ways to do networking online.
Excellent. And I want to just tag on to that. For students who are in psychology, we have lots of organizations related to specific areas and subdisciplines within psychology. And many of those have student memberships. So it might be a great time to go look at the websites of things like the Canadian Psychological Association, or talk to a faculty member if there's a specific area in psychology that you're interested in, like social psychology, clinical psychology. Find out what those organizations are, and then consider looking at a student membership for those.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea.
this does highlight a question that we get a lot, which is students just sometimes, and all of us to some degree, networking is just uncomfortable sometimes, and it can really be, you know, one of those tasks. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the top things we hear too, is that networking either seems a bit unsavory because it seems like you're going cup in hand and asking for something from someone, or it's just intimidating because it's speaking to people who, you know, especially when like students often express like, I'm just a student, you know, why would they talk to me? Why do I want to ask for their time? But you know, when we really look at what good networking is, it's not just going cup in hand. It really is about relationship building, and it's about learning about a field of interest and becoming a part of that community within that field of interest. And over time, it becomes very much a sort of give and take relationship. And yes, when you're a brand new student, often you're asking, right? You're asking, can I have a few minutes of your time? Because I'd really love to learn about the kind of work you do. I'm new to this, and your advice and experience would be really helpful to me. But someday you're not going to be just brand new to it, and you're going to be able to do that too. And so I think the tips that, you know, the key things we often share with students are that one is it's really about how you look at networking and whether you see it as a relationship building and reciprocal kind of thing. And that can often release some of that ickiness that you mentioned. The other is that networking is a skill, and it's not a skill we've all just born with that we know how to do. And so taking advantage of some services and resources to learn how to network and develop your own unique networking style. There's a lot of different things that people can do within the idea of networking, and it's figuring out what are the ones that fit your personality best so that you can feel confident when you go about your networking.
And I really want to highlight for students, LinkedIn is a great platform, and please reach out to your professors. We are here. I know we have to, you know, grade you and give grades on your assignments, but at the end of the day, we're really here to help you grow. And so please reach out on professional networks like LinkedIn, and we are happy to be part of your network.
That's great. And if I can just add in that vein too, Meghan, is that we with Alumni Relations have a LinkedIn group that is specifically for Queen's students and new graduates to connect with alumni who have joined that group because they want to support your career. It's called Queen's Connects. You have to be approved to get in because we make sure that it is only people with a Queen's connection so that it feels like a very safe place for you to share your career questions, and you know that the people around you in that group are there because of you, because they want to support you. And so I think there are a number of things that Queen's has, like supportive professors, supportive alumni, and of course our career advisors who are all there to help you take those networking steps.
The next question that comes through is, you know, what happens if COVID changes what students want to do after graduation? So for example, what if the type of work a student wanted to do, maybe doing events for charity work or working in the community, is just no longer happening?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And certainly there are many students in that case where they already know that what they thought their next step would be might have to change, or others who are wondering whether that might, and depending on the length of some of the physical distancing and other things, there's certainly a lot of uncertainty. So I think there are two key things I'd recommend thinking about. One is deciding whether to maintain that focus in the short term or make different short-term decisions. That's of course going to be impacted on each individual's other needs, like financial needs, right? Do you have time to wait till you get into that type of job that you were hoping for if it couldn't happen right away? Or do you need to take something right now, a survival job, to get you through the next little while? And it is very normal after graduation for people to take part-time work. Often if you can try to do it in the evenings or weekends to free up some daytime to keep the job search going. Lots of people make that decision. Job search takes a while. It's rarely a thing that you graduate, you know, you finish your courses in April, you've got something in May. That would be unusual. Most people, it takes a bit of time. And then the other thing is to do a real exploration of why you've chosen that path, what you need for that path, and whether there are things, even if you're doing some other kind of work or volunteer right now, how can you still be building towards that? So that might be continuing to take some additional courses. As you mentioned, joining professional associations so that you're learning more about what's going on in the field, and you're a a student member of that field over the next little while, or a new grad kind of member of that field, and sourcing out through that, who does what in this area, what are the kinds of projects going on, building those relationships. So investing in yourself and still going towards that. The other thing I'd say is that those can be challenging decisions to make. And that's actually a key thing that our career counselors do. So, many students have not ever gone and seen a career counselor. So just in brief, their job is to help you make your best decisions, right? They're not there to say, this is the thing you should do or don't do that. They are really experts in the process of helping you do an in-depth analysis of yourself, of what's out there, and then come up with your own plan about how you want to move forward to get to the places where you're trying to go.
That's awesome. And I'm just going to give a shout out. Career Services at Queen's truly is wonderful. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Megan. We do have a great team.
The next question kind of gets into this again. Some students are really experiencing a lot of stress about job search. And it's hard to stay calm when there's so much unknown right now. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, because we can often spend a lot of time on the mechanics of job search, like how do you use LinkedIn and how do you do networking, write a great resume, do interviewing remotely, and those things are important. But it's really important through the job search process to be paying attention to how you're feeling and doing. Job search at the best of times is something that can be quite emotionally taxing, right? It's a long process. Along the way, there are usually some no's before you get to the yes. And, who likes dealing with rejection? I certainly don't, right? And it's new often to people too, right? And so there's all these things that make job search itself really emotionally challenging. And then add to that all the additional uncertainty right now. So the things I would say that students can really think about right now would be, one is thinking about what's within your control. In a time of high uncertainty and constant change around us, remembering what's in your control and focusing on those things can be really helpful. And those are the things like what we've already talked about, the steps you can take to improve your skills, to do things, to learn things, and always have that forward movement. The other would be setting goals for yourself that are reasonable and realistic. So each day as you approach your job search, setting a goal of how many people realistically can I talk to today? How many jobs might I be able to find? How much research am I going to do? And how many things might I apply to today? And then when you reach those goals, celebrating it, rewarding yourself for doing that. If on a day you don't reach those goals, not beating yourself up over that, being kind to yourself and understanding that it is hard to maintain that momentum. All those kinds of self-talk things that you've probably already been doing as part of school, right? The not, oh my gosh, it's too much, it's overwhelming, I can't do this, but switching that to the, I can do this. It's hard, but I can do this. I can access resources. I don't need to be perfect. It's not going to be easy or quick. It's okay if there's bumps along the road. All of that. And then I'd say that if doing those things on your own and using career services isn't enough, please don't forget about the great services at student wellness services, other things that might be in your community, your family and friends, and reach out, because this job search can be quite isolating, even though a lot of it is networking. But if it's networking with new people, that's not the same as being with people who you already feel comfortable with, who are your cheerleaders. And so really paying attention to that can be so important. So thanks for asking that question, Megan.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you highlighted just some of the resources available for Queen students, including career services and student wellness.
Yeah.
Do you have any insights about financial assistance that might be relevant when thinking about this?
Yeah, so I'm sensitive to that. This is being taped and things change day to day. So what I'm going to say is places to watch to pay attention to what's going on. And anyone who's been paying attention to news, so I think most of your students probably know that the federal government has been announcing a series of new measures to support people. So I would say the number one thing is pay attention to that. They have a main website through the Government of Canada on COVID related topics. And inside of there's a whole list of things related to financial assistance. Each student's situation is going to be unique, so you can go through there and see what you might qualify for and what you might be interested in. And again, there's new information going up on there every few days. And the university is paying close attention to that too. So we're making sure we're updating our links to things that might be relevant to students. And so the main university COVID-19 site is a really good source of information, financial and otherwise. And of course, our Queen's Student Awards Office is a place for looking also at financial assistance.
My last question for today, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Yes, thank you. I really want to make sure there's just a couple things, and one is emphasize you're not alone on this. And I know that since we're all in our homes and apartments, and it feels a little bit more alone, I would say, than any time. You don't need to go through the job search alone. As Megan's pointed out, you have faculty members who are here who are committed to your success. You have the whole career services team. You have your alumni and your colleagues. And so please do use those resources if you think that those would be helpful to you. Career Services has just put together a new webpage specifically about job search and working remotely during this time period. And so I'll give you the URL, but you can probably Google it easily too. So our main website is careers.queensu.ca, which is pretty simple to find. And then it's a /student. So we have a whole section on students, and the new section we've made is called Student and New Graduate Employment Support During COVID-19. So very long name, but very transparent as to what's in there. And so we've compiled information about all the things we talked about today in terms of job searching remotely and the workshops and the services that we have related to that. We're going to be curating information that we find about, which types of employers are hiring so that we can point you in those kinds of directions. We have workshops and tips on working remotely. So if you've never done that before, even before maybe you take on a new remote position or after you get one, you can go through those to learn how to be most effective. We have a section on, Megan, like the question you asked about, what if my plans have changed? How do I sort that out? And we're going to have some of the links to financial support and other professional development things you can be doing so that you always feel like even though things might be different, you're maintaining some of that forward momentum.
Cathy, I want to thank you so much for being here. And I want to just ask and reiterate for students, if they want to reach out to Career Services, advisors are on hand during this time?
They absolutely are. Yes, they're all working remotely, and we have both our regular drop-in hours, so every Monday through Thursday. This spring we're doing that still, and students can drop into that, and you can book appointments, and you can choose whether that's a phone appointment or Skype for Business. We are here as we always are. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, and I hope that our psych students are banging down your Skype door.
Yes, we hope to see them virtually. Yeah. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.